to work together. And the man Marcus Garvey actually did believe that Africa should have one president. We should have one central bank, we should have one currency, we should have, and these are ideologies that we still play with today, and we still see bodies like the African Union, like all of these regional bodies, like the ECOWAS play with. So, okay, can we have a single currency? Can we have an African continental free trade area? Can we? But these are, can we have an African passport so that Africans can have visa-free travel within the continent? These are some of the ideologies stem from Marcus Garvey, and he said to the world, any day Africa can achieve this, the world would never be able to take advantage of it. And these I think had a lot of influence on Zik, alongside his own personal experiences. The times he aspired to something and he was denied simply because he was a black person, and as he would grow, he would go on to reinforce this supremacy for Africans first on the African continent.
Thank you so much for that, dear Michael. You see, it looked like a coincidence. Um, the person I interviewed before today, in fact, the same series that we are doing on the Zeke now, we did it on the person of Michael Garvey. So I interview I interview a writer from St. Lucius, and we spent nearly 2 hours there talking about him. And of course, we pay a lot of attention to Michael Garvey here. And one of the things I was telling the writer, Mr. George, is that Africa, the way we have our politics is crooked. Is very funny the way it is set up. I never knew anything about Marcus Garvey until I came to Europe, and I started studying myself to know. But why couldn't it be mentioned in my school? I should have known that, but I never knew anything about that. But I knew of Mongo Park that he discovered River Niger. Anyway, it's quite funny. But anyway, thank you for mentioning that. One of the things I was asking also him is that at a point, Marcus Garvey, to get his work to Africa was quite difficult, because we are still talking of the period of colonialism now. But he did manage to get some of the material, the printed material, to Africa. And just like Marcus Garvey, Zik, we engage in a ferocious publication. There is a power there. I want us to pay attention to that, because another person we're also going to talk about in this series, the first person to move the motion for independence of Nigeria, Chief Tony Inahoro, also have to do with publication, even at World War II. So it means now that there is a lot of power in education. We should value education because it's literally the light. So the question I actually have for you there, before I get it too long, is that in what format was Zik able to get some of this information? Was it some of the magazine that was printed and smuggled in? Do you know anything that we can sort of touch about that? Like, how was it able to get some of this information that was coming from Marcus Garvey? Was it when he was already in Nigeria, when he has got to Ghana, or when he has traveled overseas?
Unfortunately, Zik did not learn about Marcus Garvey until he was in the United States. At least that's what I believe, because from the history that is recorded, he was already in college when he met a group of other Africans who were into the whole Marcus Garvey movement, and that was in the U.S. Zik only completed secondary school education in Nigeria, so all of his higher education happened in the US and later in the UK. And he studied a lot because he did some remedial studies and got a BSc and 2 master's degrees. And well, it's a bit controversial whether he got a PhD from London or not, but there are some accounts that say he got a PhD from London. There are some accounts that are a bit silent, but then his title is Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, so chances are he probably got a doctorate. Not like it matters or it takes anything away from the man that he was. But back in the days, in those days, it was a crime. It was unlawful to belong to any associations that did not promote whatever the whatever the government was promoting, right? So I think, well, it's not very clear whether Zeke learned all about Marcus Garvey in Nigeria or in the US, but I would like to go with the narrative that he learned a lot about Marcus Garvey in the US, because again, adding to what you said, there are, up until now, we don't study history. So we have a lot of written history that is not accessible to the public. So Nnamdi Azikiwe was the first president we had in Nigeria, but you have to look for the information if you're going to learn anything about him. The information about him is not readily available. You're not going to find his poems or his stories or his books or excerpts from his articles or his powerful writings. I mean, this guy had 12 newspapers under his belt, and he ran them side by side and had papers circulate, everywhere in West Africa and even in East Africa. But it's very difficult to come across anything that Zeke wrote, because there's a systemic movement to ensure that these kinds of thinking is not encouraged. So many people live under the illusion that Nigeria is a country. But I have come to the realization that Nigeria is not a country. It's, it's a facade. It's a, what do you call that? It's a big deception. It looks like one thing, but entirely it's not. Nigeria is not a country for Nigerians or for Black people. Nigeria is a country for the West. Because something I've come to learn in the course of my work is to follow results. When you learn to track the results of things, then it's easy to understand who's doing what and for whom they are doing it. Because then the question is, if I buy a gun and I go out and shoot people, who benefits from the death of the people that I'm shooting? So the Nigerian government will say, we shot them because we're trying to secure the people. And you'd wonder, how are you killing us and you're securing us? It's like what's happening in Southeast now. You have the IPOB movement who claim that they want to gain Biafra for us. But then every week they come out and they shoot people in the street and they kill them and they say, we're fighting for you. And I'm like, no, doesn't make sense. You're killing our people and you claim you're fighting for us. And that's the same narrative that we've had from the government over and over again when they say, we're helping you, we're saving you, we're here for you, we're protecting you. But then all they do is destroy the systems, the movements, destroy every resource, every opportunity that could have empowered the people, that could have brought them out of poverty, that could have given them a better chance at life, that could have, helped them become the best versions of themselves, giving them a loud voice, giving us a place in the state of affairs on a global level. But that does not happen. So it's this way now. Then think 100 years ago, because now at this point in Zeke's life, this is 2023. So we take it 100 years back to 1923. This was the period when Zeke was done with secondary school and was trying to get into a tertiary institution. This was around the time when he was getting introduced to the teachings of Marcus Garvey, when he's beginning to learn about Pan-Africanism. This is about the time when the man Zeke is not quite sure what he's going to do with his life. But just like most young people in Nigeria currently, he's wondering if he should go take one of the government jobs, if he should travel out and go see the world, or if he should just, I don't know, maybe get into crime or stuff. But we're glad he made the choices he made, and we're glad he became who he became, because then the country is a better place because of him.
Yeah. We hope that the country can become a better place. Of course, we could also do an episode looking at the founding father this time, not only him, but also other people, and to see what kind of idea do they even have. I think we did touch it the last episode that I did with you. Anyway, we're going to remain on Zik today. It's about him. And of course, it's also unfortunate that the Nigerian government hasn't made the minimal effort to recover the history of the people. They pretend to be governing the people, but they prefer to govern them in darkness. That is unfair. It's a crime against the people. These people that we're talking about, you should just tap the computer, you have every information about it. Go to a bookshop in Nigeria, have every information about it because they are the founding father of the nation. You know, it's just like you go to ask who is Thomas Jefferson and America doesn't know. It's impossible. You see, I can anyway, va bene, it's okay. Now, how I even speak Italian.
It's all good. It's all
No, the
good.
thing can get you angry quite easily, you know, because
Yeah.
it's not normal. It's not normal at all. Because I'm reading about Mongo Park. Discover well, how can Mongo Park discover anything in Africa when we have been living here all along? Anyway, that is a digression. How
I
did
was only going to say that the only good thing about Mungo Park is that he died in the river too. So that's the only history we should be learning about Mungo Park.